They didn't even say no. They just didn't come. The last transmission from Earth's high orbit relay station fizzled out not with bang, but with a dry cough of static, like the world had choked on its final breath. Captain Juno Riker didn't flinch. He just stared at the blank holoscreen, arms folded, jaw tight. Around him, the bridge of the Bastion groaned with the creaks of recycled alloys and magnetic pressure. It wasn't a ship. It was a promise held together with fireproof tape and a little hatred. "Guess that's it then," murmured Reef Maddox in the gunnery chair, lazily flicking a half-spent stem stick from his mouth. "The galaxy's too polite to RSVP to our funeral." No one laughed, because it was true. They'd sent distress signals to every allied system, every diplomatic envoy, every exo-embassy humanity had built over the last 2 centuries. And when the Qatari Hive broke through Jupiter's defense ring and swarmed Earth's upper atmosphere, no fleets came, no friends, no reinforcements, not even a word, just silence. Status. Riker's voice cracked the tension like a whip. "Burning atmosphere in 20 minutes, replied Dr. Time Monroe from the engineering station, his hands a blur over a cracked console. His voice was calm as always, but his neural implant pulsed with orange light, a subtle warning. "We got 1 shot to breach orbit and slingshot around what's left of the Pacific Rift cannon. She's still got juice. And if it misfires?" Ava cross-assed, stepping onto the bridge with soot smeared across her neck like war paint. The soft clink of her utility boots echoed behind her like punctuation marks on regret. Ty looked up. "Then we skip off the stratosphere and burn up like a bad memory." Reef grinned. "Hell of a way to go. Kinda poetic." "No poetry," Riker growled. "We're not dying pretty. We're not dying here." That was the first time he said it out loud, and they all heard it like a war drum in the chest. 10 years ago, the Bastion had been a wrecked orbital cargo hauler, half-gutted by pirates, scrapped for parts by engineers who gave up halfway through the job. Then came the Exodus riots, the collapse of the Lunar Alliance, the Hive Wars. Suddenly, there weren't many ships left that could take a punch, let alone punch back. So they rebuilt the Bastion, out of rust rebellion, and whatever scrap they could drag from dead starfields. She wasn't fast. She wasn't sleek. But she was angry. And right now that was enough. The Qatari Hive wasn't just another enemy. They were what came after you ran out of enemies. 8-legged biomachines that communicated through hive-laced spores and digested entire biospheres like sugar cubes. They didn't conquer. They consumed. And now they were descending on the last human cities, cracking domes like eggshells, draining oceans to fuel their spore-breeding nests. Ava swallowed hard. "We shouldn't be alone." "We're not," Riker said, eyes locked on the viewport as a colossal shadow crawled across the upper atmosphere. A hive dreadnought, a mass of twitching legs and chitinous hull plates, longer than Manhattan used to be. He narrowed his eyes. "We've got us." As the Earth's last orbital cannon flickered to life, Ty whispered to his neural interface. Wires responded like a symphony, locking in trajectory, calculating burn time, aligning the Bastion's hull with a magnetic slingshot that had one last shot left in it. "You sure this'll work?" Reef asked, strapping into his shock harness with something that looked suspiciously like anticipation. "No," Ty said plainly, "but if we stay, we die." That was good enough. Then came the burn, a roar like God cracking knuckles. Heat kissed the hull. The sky tore apart. Artificial gravity screamed. Reef hooped as his chair spun. Ava clenched her teeth, praying in a language nobody had spoken for 200 years. Riker didn't move. He just stared out the viewport as the Bastion punched through the blue haze of Earth's dying sky, leaving behind the cradle of mankind, now riddled with black veins and glowing hive nests. Then silence. Real silence. Space. "We made it," Ty said, voice light with disbelief. "For now," Riker replied. "Plot course. We hit the Qatari border in 4 days." Ava stepped forward. "Juno, even if we find a weak point, there's no one left to help us." "Good." His eyes didn't blink. "Then no one gets in our way." He walked to the center of the bridge, tapped into the wideband relay, and opened a transmission. "Galactic Channel 0.1. Reserved for Alliance crisis commands only. The channel had been empty for days. He didn't care. He spoke to any species still listening. This is Captain Juno Riker of the Bastion. Earth has fallen. No one came. We know. We're not asking for help anymore. We're telling you. We are coming. We're the ones who survived 1,000 wars. And now, we're the war you should have feared. He ended the transmission. No one clapped. No one cheered. They just worked. Silent, synchronized, vengeful. Ty began splicing high biotech they'd stolen during a Black Ops raid on Mars Colony 9. Configure it into weapons that violated at least 9 interstellar treaties. Reef prepped warheads the size of garbage trucks. Ava scanned Qatari linguistics, reading into their hive songs for weak points, words they feared. Riker returned to his chair and sat with the weight of extinct nations on his shoulders. Outside, the hive dreadnought continued descending on Earth, unopposed, but far above, in the quiet black where vengeance sharpens its teeth, the Bastion turned toward Qatari space. They'd begged the stars for allies. What they got was each other, and that would be enough, because they weren't a fleet. They were survivors. And survivors? Survivors don't ask for mercy. They bring fire. If a world screams and no one hears it, does the silence still echo? The answer came too quickly. Yes. A resounding, soul-rattling yes. Because here it was, thundering through the bones of the Bastion's crew as they stared out at the floating corpse of Virex 9, a once bustling trade colony now hollowed out like a fruit left too long in the sun. No lights, no movement, no resistance, just orbiting wreckage, drifting in slow circles like a funeral procession no one had the decency to attend. Reef Maddox leaned forward at the viewport, eyes narrowed. So, this is what neutral zone means these days. Whole planet gone to hell, and the galaxy didn't even put up a sign. Neutral, Ava Cross muttered from the sensor array, fingers racing over controls. That's one word for it. Abandoned is better. Eaten is probably most accurate. She zoomed in. Satellite footage came in ghost white. Dead buildings, shattered domes, atmospheric filters long since collapsed under the weight of Qatari biomass. Spore towers clawed up through the ground like cancerous vines, glowing faint green in the dark. Ty Monroe tilted his head, eye implant blinking as he scanned. There's heat residue. Something detonated in the central plaza a week ago. Power grids, still spiking every few hours. They tried to fight back. And failed. Riker finished in the command chair. We're late again. Not one of them said what they were all thinking. How many more worlds are gone by now? It had been 3 days since they left Earth orbit, and already the stars felt colder. Not physically. Space was always cold, but emotionally, like the universe had stepped back, turned off the lights, and let the monsters roam free. But the Bastion didn't slow down. She had a course, a mission, a crew with nothing left to lose. They were heading for the hive's breeding moon, Zarna Theta, a biomechanical womb where Qatari queens spawned new legions every cycle. It was off-grid, off-record, and officially denied even by the smug bastards in the Galactic Council who once shook hands with Riker at Alliance summits. But Ava had hacked that data from a dead diplomat's neural cortex 2 years ago. She remembered everything, especially the secrets. And she was tired of secrets. We dropping in, or are we just sightseeing? Reef asked, flipping a heavy rifle over his shoulder. He hadn't cleaned the weapon since Earth's fall. Didn't need to. It wanted blood more than polish. Riker nodded. Gear up. If there's anything left alive down there, any recordings, any logs, we need them. The galaxy wants to forget. We're going to remind them. Ty looked up. Just us four? Just us four, Riker confirmed. There were no ground teams, no fleet support, no evac option, just a crew of the Bastion, a half-dead warship, and a planet that had already screamed itself hoarse. The drop was rough. Atmosphere was unstable. Gravity fluxed in nauseating bursts, and the surface was littered with high biostructures that tried to latch onto the shuttle like barnacles. Ava torched them off with a pulse disruptor and muttered, "Creeping things need to learn boundaries." They landed in what used to be Virex Central Command, A skyscraper buried under spore vines and melted steel, now leaning like a drunk in an alleyway. Inside was pitch black. Reef cracked a glow stick with snap that echoed too loud. Place smells like mildew and regrets, he muttered, rifle raised. Stay sharp, Riker ordered. They're not stupid. They leave ruins behind for a reason. They want us to see what happens when you don't fight back. Ava pulled a portable drone from her belt, activated it, and sent it flying through the upper corridors. Holograms streamed back in real time. Mummified corpses, singed walls, a child's toy, untouched beside a pile of bones. Her voice tightened. Civilian density here was over 40,000. There's no way only this few remains. They weren't all killed here. Ty murmured. Then they were harvested. They reached the command deck, what was left of it. Walls were blown out, glass panels shattered, consoles fried from power overloads. But in the center of it all, still humming faintly, was a black box recorder. Riker motioned to Ty. You're up. Monroe knelt, interfaced with the unit, and waited. The voice that came through wasn't screaming. It wasn't even panicked. It was calm, resigned. To anyone receiving this, we sent the call. You didn't answer, but we're not angry. We're just done. They came at dawn. We resisted, but it was never a fair fight. If you're hearing this, don't come to save us. Come to make them pay. The message ended with a burst of static, and then a single word. Remember. Reef spat on the floor. Well, that's about all the closure I needed. No, Riker said quietly. It's not. Not yet. He uploaded the black box to the Bastion's mainframe. Then he turned to Ava. Find me a live target. I want to hit something before sundown. They didn't have to wait long. Katari spores bloomed in the courtyard within the hour, rising like mist, coalescing into armored soldiers with insectal limbs and blades where mouths should be. 10, 20, 30 of them, emerging silently from under the soil. But the Bastion's crew wasn't caught off guard. They'd faced worse in the lunar collapse. They'd survived the siege of Outpost Kilo 5. Ava once took out a Katari hunter squad with nothing but a fusion welder and a car battery. This wasn't war anymore. It was vengeance. The firefight was brutal, precise. Ty's modified grenades rupture high, plating like tissue. Reef moved the swarm like a dancer with rage issues, twin rifles barking death. Ava handled a tri-cannon she'd built herself, spitting hot arcs of death that tore hive limbs clean off. And Riker? He didn't shout commands. He just walked into the center of the chaos, blade in one hand, plasma torch in the other. He didn't fight like a commander. He fought like a ghost who remembered everything. When it was over, the courtyard was slick with acid blood. The crew stood breathing hard, scarred, bloodied, but alive. Riker dropped his torch. We don't run anymore. No, Ava agreed. We hunt. As they left the ruins, the last sunlight of Virex, 9 caught the edge of a broken statue, once a symbol of peace. It now leaned cracked and forgotten, a monument to the galaxy's apathy. But carved into its base, fresh, glowing with the char of a plasma blade, were 3 words. We are coming. The moon wasn't just alive. It was in labor. From orbit, Zarna Theta looked like a wounded god curled in the black, pulsing, shifting, heaving beneath thick waves of biomechanical flesh. Veins of light coursed across its surface like lightning trapped under skin. Towering spires stabbed toward the stars, each one a birthing needle. There were no cities, no structures, just a living, screaming ecosystem devoted to one purpose: war breeding. Inside, the hive queens were hatching soldiers faster than the galaxy could bury its dead, and the Bastion was diving straight into the womb. Atmosphere's alive, Ava said from the NAV controls. It's trying to jam our approach vectors. Biological interference, static storms, acid gusts. We got 15 minutes before the air starts digesting us. Perfect, Riker said without blinking. Then we'll land in 10. Reef slammed a fresh charge into his cannon, grinning like a man who had no intention of retiring. I was starting to worry this suicide mission was going to be boring. Ty Monroe adjusted his chest rig with one hand, while interfacing with the hive jamming field on his wrist pad with the other. Shields at 32%. External hull temperature climbing fast. This place doesn't want visitors. Riker turned toward the bay doors as they began to glow from re-entry heat. His voice dropped, low and razor-edged. "That's too bad," he said, "because we're not visitors. We're home." The landing was war. Spore swarms swirled in kaleidoscopic storms around the drop shuttle. Hive tendrils launched from the surface like spears, clawing at the sky, slashing a hull plating. Ava slammed override after override into the shuttle's neural core, forcing it through a biological storm that wanted to eat them cell by cell. Then came the ground impact. Metal screamed, heat flared, and when the bay doors finally hissed open, the smell hit them. Rot, fertility, fire, something ancient, something wrong. The landscape was flesh and steel, breathing, pumping, watching, and they were walking straight into its heart. "You ever wonder for the bad guys?" Reef asked, stepping over a river of pink fluid oozing from a pulsing syswall. "I mean, sure, they kill civilians, but look at this place. Feels like we're storming the belly of God." Ty said nothing. His eyes were scanning every pulse, every shimmer in the air. No gods here. Just monsters who breed more monsters. "Same thing, really," Reef muttered. Ava paused. "Not exactly. Gods expect worship." Reef raised an eyebrow. "And what do queens expect?" Riker answered from the front, voice like thunder against flesh. "Obedience or extinction." They entered the first birthing chamber. Words failed. Towering sacks pulsed overhead, each the size of a transport ship, slick with mucus, lit from within by the silhouettes of fully grown Qatari warriors. Hundreds of them. Clones. Bioforged killers birthed angry, born ready. Some had already hatched. Blood trails led across the walls. Some sacks moved. Others screamed. "They're accelerating growth," Ava whispered. "These aren't regular troops. These are prime class." Ty's implant buzzed, confirming. Genetic overlays are enhanced. Armor plating evolved in utero. Neural link nodes are active even inside the womb. These are built to lead invasions. "Then we kill them before they're housebroken," Reef growled, already arming incendiary charges. The first queen appeared like a godless cathedral. She descended from above, tethered by sinew and throne-like limbs, 15 meters tall and bloated with hive-control nerves. Her face was an imitation of her soldiers, a hideous blend of insect and human, sculpted to terrify and command. Her voice bypassed their ears. It entered their skulls. "You've come so far, only to die in a place you do not belong. You reek of extinction, of failure. Humanity is a broken myth." Riker stepped forward, staring her down. "We're not myths. With a cautionary tale your spawn whisper about before molting." She screeched. 1,000 drones spilled from the walls. The chamber exploded into chaos. Ty dropped a micro-turret and lit up the left flank. Ava hacked the hive's internal lighting grid and strobed the queen's neural vision. Reef launched plasma shells into birthing sacks, laughing like a madman as walls of hatchlings ignited mid-crawl. And Riker? He ran straight for the queen, climbing bioribs, dodging strikes from clawed limbs, slicing open nerve conduits with his blade as he went. Every step a dare, every breath a rebellion. She grabbed him mid-leap, her grip crushed. He screamed once, and then drove a fusion blade into her eye. "Humanity doesn't die quietly," she roared, flinging him across the chamber. But it was already too late. Ava detonated Reef's charges. The birthing sacks exploded in fire and pressure, and screams not made for human lungs. Hive fluid rained, like boiling rain. Prime-class hatchlings stumbled mid-emergence and collapsed in flames. Riker crawled to his feet, bloodied, coughing. The queen writhed in agony, but still alive. "We need to finish it," Ty said, moving toward her, weapons hot. "No!" Riker coughed. "This one stays alive." Reef blinked. "Are you out of your scarred mind?" "She's a transmitter," Riker said. "Her screams carry. Let her sing." He stepped close to her pulsing body, reached into her damaged cortex node, and uploaded a single human word into the high broadcast neural network. Run. As the Bastion lifted off minutes later, fire still licked the edges of the birthing moon. The Queen's scream, twisted, fearful, furious, echoed across Qatari-controlled sectors. The message was clear. Humanity had not vanished. It was hunting. They found the battlefield by accident, because it was no longer a battlefield. It was a planet-sized tomb. Ava's voice cracked through the comms like a whisper from a grave. I don't think anyone won here. Riker stood at the bridge's edge, eyes locked on the twisted, orbiting remains of an ancient orbital station, miles wide, its hull curled inwards like a corpse shielding itself from its own death. Below, the planet's surface glittered not with cities, but the shattered bones of war machines, strewn across black sands like broken gods. This isn't just a graveyard, Time muttered. It's a warning carved into space. Reef, unusually quiet, stared at a jagged monolith half buried in ash. Yeah, but who was it warning? They called the place Erebus 4, though no official records existed anymore. Not in any known archive, not in any surviving Qatari intel. It had been stripped from star charts, wiped like a shameful memory. But war leaves fingerprints. And the survivors of 1,000 wars? They knew where to look. We're not here for nostalgia, Riker finally said, breaking the silence. We're here for the beacon. Ava turned to him, brows furrowed. You think it's still online? Riker's jaw tightened. We'll find out soon enough. They descended into silence. The Bastion threaded through mountains of husked warships, some Qatari, some human, and others belonging to species long extinct. Armor plating as thick as bunkers, scars from energy weapons no one manufactured anymore, hulls twisted by time, impact, and something worse, something hungry. The deeper they flew, the stranger the architecture became. Ships with no engines, hulls grown, not built, symbols that shifted when you blinked. And then, finally, the planet, a cemetery the size of a world. Landing zone looked stable, Ava said, though her voice betrayed doubt. Still getting electromagnetic drift, radiation spikes, and something's echoing us. Echoing. Ty asked sharply. She showed him the sensor readout. There were 5 human signals. Their own, and a 6th. They landed near the base of a dead Titan, a derelict human dreadnought that had been split in half as if bitten. One wing jutted into the sky, like a broken cathedral spire. The other was buried in obsidian sand. As they stepped out, sand crunched beneath their boots. Only it wasn't sand. It was ash, bone, carbon. Reef scooped some into his gauntlet. Not even time could rot this place proper. Keep your weapons hot, Ty said, already scanning. Beacon should be inside that wreckage. Riker nodded. Then we climb. Inside the dreadnought, time had fossilized. Frozen bodies floated in fractured stasis chambers. Uniforms bleach white, guns still clenched in skeletal hands. Blood turned to dust, smeared across consoles that hadn't lit up in centuries. And then, a hum, low, rhythmic, alive. Ava's fingers flew over her tablet. Beacon signal confirmed. Weak but present. Located in the core vault. Looks like it's tied to a black box and a final log. Riker's voice was iron. Then we hear their last words. They reached the core vault after 10 minutes of crawling through wreckage and memories. The door was sealed with manual override, a system so old Ty had to build a key from scrap on the spot. When it hissed open, the room lit with faded blue light, and the voice of a long-dead commander filled the air. This is Admiral Cade Weller. Final transmission from the 7th Titan Fleet. If you're hearing this, we failed. The recording flickered. Static, then resumed. We came to Erebus to stop them. Not the Qatari. Something older. Something worse. They were building it here. Feeding on the bones of wars. We destroyed it. At the cost of everything. We buried it in our own dead. We left no beacon. No memorial. Just silence. Let it stay buried. Let it die with us. The transmission ended, and the floor beneath them trembled. Tell me that was just tectonic shift, Reef said, already gripping his cannon. Ava checked her readings. There's movement. Beneath the surface. Biological. Massive. Riker turned to Ty. What did they bury? Ty's face was pale. Not a what. A who. He showed them the beacon's final ping location, a cavern beneath the wreck. Its sensor readings twisted and nonsensical. Gravity fluctuations. Thermal blooms. Pulse signatures that didn't conform to anything in the database. I think the war left something behind. Something alive. Reef cocked his head. So do we bomb it or shake its hand? No, Riker said slowly. We wake it. They entered the vault. Darkness greeted them. Not simple absence of light, but the kind that watches back. And there it was, a throne, built of wreckage and armor, covered in dust and shadows. Seated upon it, a figure. Human, or something that had once been human. It opened its eyes. Survivors, it said, voice like rusted iron scraping across steel. How many more wars have you walked through? Riker stepped forward. 8,000. And counting. The thing smiled. Not kindly, not cruelly, just tired. Then you understand. Understand what? That war is not the disease, the throne being said. It's the immune system. It stood, towering, cloak dragging across bones and metal. I am Cade Weller. Reef froze. The Admiral? Ty whispered. He didn't die, he merged with the beacon, with Erebus. Riker didn't flinch. Then we didn't come to bury him. No, Cade said. You came to finish what I couldn't. Outside, the ground split open, and the thing they had buried, a Qatari god beast made from war relics and dead heroes, rose again. It wasn't just alive. It remembered every battle, every scream, every failure, and now it wanted revenge. If war had a final form, it stood now in the ash of its own legacy. It was not elegant. It was not divine. It was teeth, armor, rage held together by memory. And it was rising. The Qatari god beast. 20 stories tall and crawled with the fused tech of 100 extinct species. Let out a groan that wasn't sound, but a memory of every death it had caused. Its limbs were forged from dreadnoughts. Its spine was a Starkiller engine. Its eyes? Human helmets, cracked and still bleeding. Ava took one look and whispered, "We are so screwed." But Riker didn't flinch. He stepped forward, voice low and steel-wrapped. Wrong. We're the ones who don't die. The team scrambled back to the half-collapsed vault as the god beast's scream ruptured the very air, turning dust into flame and bone into shards. Cade Weller, once Admiral, now something else, stood unmoved. His voice rolled like thunder echoing down an iron canyon. It learned from everything it killed. That includes us. That includes you. Then he turned, eyes molten with purpose. But so did I. Back on the bastion, Reef was already charging the forward cannons, his hands moving too fast for the interface to keep up. Tell me you've got a plan, Riker, 'cause I just loaded every nuke we own into this damn ship's teeth. Riker's voice came through the comms, sharp and clear. We don't kill it with brute force. It eats brute force for breakfast. Then what? Polite negotiation? Ava fired back, punching in telemetry readings. Because I don't think it speaks fluent surrender. Ty interrupted, breathless but focused. No, but it does run on a synthetic neural core. Hybrid Qatari design. Part organic, part tech. I saw it in the beacon files. The core is deep in the chest cavity, surrounded by a lattice of shield emitters and self-repairing Hull, Massachusetts. So, Reef barked. So it's not immortal, Ty said. It's just really, really bad at dying. Cade stepped beside them, cloak dragging sparks along the hangar floor. You'll need a key to access that core. A command override. I am that key. Ava raised an eyebrow. You're volunteering to be the suicide switch. No, he said without a hint of drama. I'm volunteering to end my war. They launched in silence. Not the silence of fear, but of a crew that had already decided what kind of people they were. Riker, the unbreakable. Ava, the scalpel in a world of hammers. Ty, the mind behind 1,000 broken machines. Reef, The chaos artist, wild and grinning, already humming his own death anthem. And Cade, a monument to failure, walking into his own redemption. The battle that followed didn't look like a fight. It looked like a history book on fire. The god beast opened with a wave of magnetic force that flipped a continent's worth of wreckage into orbit. The bastion skimmed between skyscraper-sized bones and ancient debris fields, weaving like a blade through smoke. Reef unleashed a full barrage, laughing like a man who forgot how to die. Missiles screamed. Railguns roared. Plasma hissed. The air around them caught fire from friction alone. But the monster didn't flinch. It adapted. Its hull shifted mid-strike. Energy absorbed, redirected, evolved. Even Ava's precision strikes disappeared into nanite fog. "We're not killing it," she shouted. "We're training it." "That's the point," Ty said, sweat rolling down his neck. "We keep it busy. We teach it the wrong lessons." Meanwhile, Cade and Riker dove an assault pod, straight toward the heart. The sky cracked open as the beast noticed them. Its torso split, revealing layers of pulsing neural lattice. Defense systems woke, autonomous drones, acid-flak, even redirected star matter. But Cade was already overriding them, whispering commands in a dead dialect. Riker just held the line, gun blazing, jaw set, body broken and still moving. They reached the core, and it was beautiful. A living crystal the size of a tank, suspended in webbing, humming with the lives of everything it had ever killed. Memories flickered through it. Last words, final screams, Starship telemetry frozen mid-meltdown. Riker stepped forward. "Now, Cade." The old admiral placed his hand on the console. "I made this thing by failing to destroy it. This time we finish it." The god beast screamed. Across the surface of Erebus 4, its movements faltered. Its eyes dimmed. The lattice inside its chest began to collapse, folding in on itself. And then its final defense triggered. The core began counting down to a full system overload. Cade turned to Riker. "Go." "What?" "You have to leave. It won't just die. It'll take this entire region of space with it. That's the failsafe. They designed it to be a curse that dies screaming. I'm not leaving you." Cade smiled gentle. "You already did. A long time ago." And he shoved Riker out the hatch. Back on the bastion, Ava caught him mid-impact, dragged him inside, slapped him twice for good measure, and screamed over the roar of the engines, "Where the hell is Cade?" Riker stared out the viewport. The monster was glowing, like a dying star, where he was always going to be. The sky collapsed, a flash that split space in two. Time hiccuped. The bastion's hull peeled under the pressure and rebuilt itself in real time. The crew screamed, more in memory than pain. And then, silence. The god beast was gone. The graveyard was still. Erebus 4, after centuries, finally slept. Later, much later, when the crew returned to normal space, bruised and exhausted, they found a single artifact in their sensor array. A beacon fragment. One message endlessly looping. "Survivors of 1,000 wars, thank you for ending mine." Riker placed it in the center of the bastion's war room. No ceremony, no flags, just a small, glowing light. "We don't raise statues," he said. "We don't build monuments." Reef nodded. "We survive. That's the point." Ava lit a cigarette from the engine's backdraft and added, "And we teach the next one not to try us." Ty glanced at the stars ahead. "Where to now?" Riker smiled. "Wherever someone thinks humans are an easy target. Because no allies came. Only the ruthless survivors of 1,000 wars arrived. And they never stopped.